Hello and welcome back to OTD, the baseball podcast. As it doesn't come up always, but when it does, it matters. Trade deadline day 2026. Trade deadline 2026 is come and gone. Let's run down the trades that were made on today, the final day before the deadline. Starting off, prospect for prospect between Kansas City and Philadelphia. The Royals got Nolan Hoffman. Phillies got Manuel Galon. Then the Dodgers got Ben Rortvedt. I don't think the Mets used him all that much, if at all, this year. In exchange for Chase McDermott, who got DFA'd on Friday, named by the Dodgers. The Braves then got Brent Suter in exchange for Nacho Alvarez Jr., one of their better utility infielders last year. He got sent to the Angels. Rays got Orioles pitcher Tyler Wells in exchange for Michael Forret. Braves sent Eli White to Boston for pitching prospect Tyler Uberstein. Joey Bart and Duncan David switched from the Braves to the White Sox and vice versa. Rangers got pitching prospect Adam McCow in exchange for shipping Josh Smith and Josh Stefan to the Blue Jays. The Cubs got Ryan Zeferhan in exchange for giving up Moisés Ballesteros and Mason McGuire. Here's the Angels. Luke Gabrich and John Spikerman to the Mets in exchange for Brooks Raley. Really want to get rid of your best assets for prospect capital, Stearns? And people wonder why I wanted to obtain a Red Lantern power ring to kick your fucking ass and rip you to pieces. Anyway, Mason Adams and Carlos Vielma to the Rockies in exchange for Brenton Doyle. Jeff Hoffman to the Twins in exchange for prospects pitchers Desan Hill and John Klein, as well as second baseman Damari Pena. Chris Bubic to the Dodgers in exchange for Carlos Duran to Kansas City. The Marlins get Jonathan Long and Jace Beck in exchange for Braxton Garrett. He goes to the Cubs. San Francisco gets infield prospect Marcelo Mayer for Eric Miller. Dalton Varsho to the Astros in exchange for Spencer Arrighetti. Relievers, Jojo Romero and Dustin May from the Cardinals to the Brew Crew in exchange for outfield prospects Alexander Frias and Carson Ragsdale. Tony Santanzella, one of the best pitchers the Rockies had in years, goes to Milwaukee for Mark Manfredi and Juan Martinez, which basically shows you that the Brewers are fully committed to buying and trying to push their way to the World Series. Their first appearance since 1982. As the Brewers, along with the Tampa Bay Rays, the Seattle Mariners, the San Diego Padres. Who else hasn't won one yet? Rays, Mariners, Padres, Brewers. Twins have won 3. Tigers have won 2. Guardians have won 1. A couple. So the Cardinals, the Mets, the Royals, Atlanta. Both Texas squads have won at least 1. Baltimore's won a couple. Pittsburgh's won a couple. Philly's won a couple. The A's have won a few. So have Cincinnati. Both Chicago teams have won a few. Yankees, self-explanatory. Same thing with the Dodgers. Let me see what teams haven't won the World Series. Give me a second. Oh, the Rockies. Forgot about them. Anyway, Luke Weaver gets shipped out to Pittsburgh for Sammy Stafura. Forrest Griffin to the Guardians for Josh Hartle, Will Dion, Kendegley Vigueras, and Nick Mitchell. So basically, the Nationals are getting a lot of prospects. This one threw me a bit for a loop. The Rays, Marlins shipping Liam Hicks out for Braden Taylor, Jacob Kisting, and Adrian Santana. Why would you get rid of your best hitter, Miami? But then again, Miami has a nasty history of that. But then again, the Fish Sticks have had a nasty history of getting rid of their best pieces for junk. They really want to be this far up the creek without a paddle? They're going to end up being fish food again in 2027, if we even get 2027. Let's continue forward. Clay Holmes and Tyrone Taylor of the Mets to the Cubs for Jefferson Rojas. Taylor Ward of the Orioles to Seattle for Alex Hoppe, Harrison Creeling, and Brock Moore. So they get relief pitchers for one of their best outfielders. Joe Adell gets shipped out to Cleveland for Jacob Cozart. Heliot Ramos shipped out to New York for Henry Lane and Caden Kent. And when you consider the injury, how badly the injury bug has been the Yankees, can you not blame the Yankees for trying to push hard to get Ramos? Jose Soriano to the Blue Jays for Arjun Nimala, Eddie Micheletti, and Angel Rivero. Robbie Ray to San Diego for Miguel Mendez and Yoniel Hernandez. And here's another one that kind of will piss a lot of teams in the East off. The fans of the East, not related to Philadelphia, off. Ramon Marquez and Marty Geyer to the Giants in exchange for Caleb Killian and Luis Suarez. But here was the big one to close out trade deadline day. Boston giving up Jake Rogers, cash comps, and Ailey Rushman for Anthony Aenson, Kason Witherspoon, Enny Ozakar, Carlos Narvaez, and a player yet to be named. So we've had a lot of teams buying, and we've had plenty of them selling. And while there were some big names that bounced around today, a good number of these guys were also lower tier players and pitching and minor league prospects. So the question is, who's prepped themselves for down the road with farm development, with grabbing farm assets and prepping themselves for 2027? In all honesty, I don't know. But now that the deadline's over, we got about 50 or so games left to play. And we'll see how the remaining month and a half, less than 2 months of the season play out before we get to the post at the end of September. And then we get to the big meat and potatoes in October. And I will admit, if the Dodgers do win their third title in a row, do expect a lockout. Because if they do, because the Tarek Skubal trade, according to some pundits like Stephen A. Smith, who, from what I understand, doesn't really give a damn all that much about baseball. He's more of a basketball and football guy. But having said that, what the Dodgers do with their deferred money contracts is basically a reason why they need a salary cap and a salary floor in baseball. I mean, every sport except baseball has this. And what is the point of a salary cap? It's meant to limit how much a team or an ownership can blow on specific players. How many restricts how many years you can put on a contract and how much money you can make off that player is going to make off it annually and how many years they can play. Now, do I think any of the contracts that don't fit in whatever window, if we do get a salary cap, and basically this, what the Dodgers just did, this puts the Players Union on the back foot and gives the owners all of the leverage. But will it be enough leverage for the owners to force the salary cap? I don't know. But a lot of baseball fans like myself are getting a little nervous about this. And I know we're still about 4 months out from the collective bargaining agreement meetings between the Players Association and the owners. The owners and the GMs and the Pobos. Though I still think some Pobos are a bunch of fucking nutheads and deserve to get their skulls cracked open. But still, we'll see how things play out. We now reach the home stretch. Who's going to win? Who's going to make the playoffs? Well, if the season were in the day in the AL, it would be the Rays, the White Sox, and the Astros, the division champs, with the Yankees, the Red Sox, and I think, let me see. The Guardians moving on to the postseason. While in the National League, the top three would be the Dodgers, the Brewers, and the Braves. With the wild cards being the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, and the Phillies. But do I think it will hold that way? Not really, to be honest. I mean, with the division leaders, perhaps the division leaders that's in the most danger would probably be the Rays and the Astros at the moment. Not so much with and maybe the White Sox would be all the leaders in the division leaders in the American League. Not so much with any of the leaders in the National League. At least in my point of view. If you ask me, it's going to boil down to the wild cards in the National League. And while at least all three divisions in the American League are still up for grabs, it's still a case of who's going to win them. Who's going to win them? In any case, Mr. Stearns, before I cut out, I want to say this to you about how you sabotage this team. You are a small market, narcissistic, brain dead. And I'll leave it at that. Comment, like, and subscribe to the Sports Jedi Media Network and the Mets 212 YouTube channel. I'm done. Goodbye. Good night. Bang. And may the sports be with you always.